good. So if you're just checking in now, please get yourself a bolster if you have it. If you do not have a bolster, I strongly recommend getting yourself a cushion. So maybe something from the back of your couch, or like an arm cushion, pillows if that's not an option, but if you can find something that's going to be sturdier and firmer, that is going to be more beneficial for you today, and blocks if you have them. So I'll give you guys one more moment for that. Welcome, welcome. Good. All right, so I'm seeing some thumbs up, so it looks like we're good to go. So we are actually going to start on our backs today. So please bring yourself on down. And it might feel nice to maybe drape the legs over top of a bolster. You can also use a towel if you've got one, or a blanket. You don't need anything, but sometimes it's nice just to rest the legs on something. And then just see if you can tuck those shoulder blades a little bit together behind the back. Take a couple nice full deep breaths here. Exhale to let that all go. Settling in to your mat for your class, which you so deserve right now. And it's an honor to get to practice with you all. And to whatever degree you're practicing, if you just do one or two things, if you're simply observing and just listening to my cues, then that's wonderful. Just sit on your mat and breathe. Remembering to listen to your body, checking in moment to moment. And especially if you have been practicing a lot in the past, but maybe you're out of your practice a little bit now with what's going on, your muscles might feel a little bit different. Your range of motion might be a little bit different. So really checking in with yourself if you need to adjust at any point. And just because you used to do a posture a certain way in the past does not mean that that is how it is going to be today. It might be more, it might be less, or it might be the same. So if you like, you can reach your arms overhead and take a nice big inhale. And then as you exhale, go ahead and hug that right knee in towards your chest. You can hold to the top of your shin, or you can hold behind your knee. Maybe just bringing some gentle movement here. Saying good morning to the body. Breathing nice and deep. Relax the neck and the shoulders. Maybe you wiggle your toes a little bit. Maybe you point and flex your feet, or bring some other movement to the ankles. Might bring a little circling into that knee. From here, if you've got a bolster, you can rest your foot on the bolster. If not, you can just bring your foot down to the ground. And we're going to come into that nice opening here, staying nice and flat across the pelvis, not moving into the hips. And then I'm using that hand to bring that leg back up towards the ceiling. I inhale to gently drop that knee open. And exhale to come back in. And just do that a couple more times. Just checking in, everything's good. All right. We're all good. One more time here. We inhale to open that knee out to the side. And then you might choose to even pause there. Maybe you need to prop up your knee or your leg. What we do want to focus on is that the hips are not twisting. So if you imagine if you have a belt on, you want that belt buckle to be pointing straight up to the ceiling. And it's obviously just the start of class, so I do recommend a little bit of support of a pillow or a prop underneath that outer right leg. The hands can rest wherever it's comfortable for you. Connecting deeply to the sound of your breath. take one more full deep breath here. Exhaling completely, and then we'll just lengthen that right leg out along the mat or on your prop. And then just take a moment to check in with the body and notice if you feel any difference from right to left. Whether or not you do doesn't matter so much as we're just tuning into what's happening in the body, what's happening in the now. We'll take a nice full deep breath in, and then as you exhale, just a little engagement to the core as we draw that left knee in towards the chest, noticing how it is on this side. Modifying as you need, you can hold top of the shin or behind that knee, bringing in some gentle movement if that feels good. Rocking, wiggling the toes, moving those ankles. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. I am waking up my body. I am releasing anything that is stuck. I am strong. I am dedicated. What mantra maybe presents itself to you this morning? What statement can you make about this moment? And then go ahead and float that left foot down to your prop or the floor, using that left hand to support as we start to open up to the side. Stay nice and flat across the belly. Exhale to draw that back through center. Inhaling to open, and exhale to bring it back. So I invite you to work with any mantra work throughout your practice today. This positive self-talk that we can do with ourselves is very powerful. Let's go for 2 more here. And as we do that, I encourage you to focus on the present and saying words like, I am. I am. I am here. Let's drop that open to pause. Support your leg how you need to. It might be different on this side. Maybe you need a little bit more support. But again, focusing on the pelvis, that we're not twisting here. Imaginary belt buckle pointing straight up to the ceiling. And breathe. I am here. You are here. We're practicing in our own ways, virtually connected. One more full deep breath here, everybody. And then on your next exhale, bring that back through center. Use your hand for support if you need. If you've got a prop underneath you, you can go ahead and remove that now. We'll hug the knees into the chest as we rock gently side to side. You might choose to circle your knees here. Just getting the low back, a little bit of a massage. And then we'll bring one hand on each knee and we're going to circle our knees in opposite directions. So opening out to the sides and bring it back through center. This is a nice way to really loosen up through the hips. And I'm trying to make this motion as passive as possible, meaning I'm really not thinking about doing this movement just with my legs, but I'm really thinking about using my hands to move the legs. Nice passive motion. Let's go for one more here. And then go ahead and reverse. Making those circles nice and big. And then coming back through center. We're going to bring our feet down to the mat, and then we'll go knees and feet together here. The arms can rest wherever it's comfortable, and we're not going to go for our slow rock side to side, we're actually going to keep this motion a lot smaller and quicker. So just moving like a few inches from side to side, like maybe 4 or 5 inches, and you might even need to bring your hands to the side so that you don't go too far. I'm definitely thinking of not letting my knees go past my shoulders. So you can speed that up a little bit, and I kind of think of like a dog wagging its little tail. This is a nice release for the low back. And then just pause and see how that feels. And then we'll try it one more time, this little tick-tock of the legs. 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Good. So from here, let's roll over to one side, press your hand down to the ground, walk yourself up to seated. We'll cross the legs, or you can straighten those legs out, and we're going to start again with our nice circling of the spine, as we often do at the start of class with me. We inhale to come forward, exhale to go back. And really thinking about bringing that movements to the side. I'm thinking of really grounding my hip point down towards the earth. Inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back. And maybe you even feel a little bit of a stretch happening into the hips. You might feel it more in the side body, you might feel it to the inner thighs, or maybe you're not feeling much of a stretch or pull anywhere, and then with that you're just getting some nice circular movement here, some fluidity to balance some of the more linear, angular poses that we often do in yoga. A couple more. And last one here. Good. Coming back to center, just take a moment to pause. Roll those palms up towards the ceiling. Roll the shoulders down and back. Feel that openness across the heart. Roof of the mouth is parallel to the floor. And then notice if you feel any different in the body from when you first came up to your seated position. And then I invite you now to change the cross of your legs, or if your legs are straight, you can just stay there. So we usually cross our legs the same way each time. We're going to reverse direction of the circles. Inhale forward, exhale back. And sometimes if we're pausing in between the circles, then there might even be a little moment of, did I circle this way already? And so with that, I often like to say in my classes, well, even if you circled 2 times in the same direction, then I think that the body needed that. So trusting that body wisdom for what feels right for you. Remember to check in and listen if you need to stop and take a rest, sit down, lie down, have something to drink. Hydrate yourself well as you need to throughout your class. Let's go for a couple more nice full deep circles here. See how it feels on this side. Good. And then coming back through center. Nice. Let's inhale to reach those arms all the way up. Maybe lifting the gaze slightly. Exhale, bring the hands down through heart center. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale to reach it all the way up. Exhale, drawing it down through the midline. Last one here, inhaling to lengthen. And exhale to bring it down. Good. So from here, we're going to bring our feet out in front of us, and I'm bringing my feet about as wide as the mat. And then you can bring your hands back behind you, and we're going to twist both of our knees over to one side. So I'm keeping my feet as wide as the mat. Both of my feet are flexed. You can stay leaning back here. And so you want to try and have not too close between your foot and your knee, but really bring that out to the side. So you might even start to bring your feet wider than the mat. You might choose to start to take that back foot and bring it forward a little bit. So I'm thinking 2 90-degree angles, 2 right angles of the legs here. Taking a couple more breaths here, you can choose to keep leaning back. Maybe you bring your body upright. So we're getting half external rotation and half internal rotation. And deep internal rotation is not something that we do so much in daily life, so typically it's in this back internally rotated leg that we're feeling something here. We're going to take a couple more breaths here. It's Svastisthasana or peace pose. Maybe resting the hands in the heart. We'll come into the other side. So I usually like to bring the hands back as I change directions, bring it out. Notice if that back foot is really close to the glute, we're gonna open that out so that we're right angled in both legs. And notice how it is on this side. Is your hip more off of the ground? Is your knee more off of the ground? Stay flexed in both feet. Stay nice and connected in your breath. Option to stay back here, or maybe you choose to bring yourself upright. You might just kind of need to play around with that a little bit and see where you might be most feeling it in this back internally rotated leg or hip. Take a couple more full deep breaths. Maybe you choose to reach those arms up towards the ceiling this time just to get a little bit of length. And then slowly release down. Coming back through center, we're going to plant the feet onto the mat, and we're going to come back down to our backs. So you can choose to hold behind your legs for support, or to work your core a little bit. We're going to reach those arms forward, hollow and scoop the belly, and I'm rolling slowly down through my spine, one vertebrae at a time. Good. You might need a little bit of support here, so just make sure one of your props is handy. We're going to hug that right knee in towards the chest, lengthening the left leg out. From here, stepping that left foot onto that, your right foot onto that left thigh. And we're going to start to twist open to the left. So I'm going across the body, and I might just bring my bolster and have that for a little support. And sometimes that's not even enough. So you might need to grab another cushion, or if you have a block, you can use that to stack up. You can keep your left hand onto that right knee. Option to open the right arm out to the side. If this is too much for you, then I encourage you to bend both of your knees and bring your prop in between both knees and just come into a little supporting twist here. You can even roll over onto your left arm and hold yourself there so it's much more gentle. So many choices, as there always are. We're going to hold for 3 more full deep breaths. If it feels better for you to bring that right foot off of the left leg, you can do that. And then slowly coming back through center. From here, we're going to plant that left foot down onto the ground and coming into a figure 4, squaring off into the hips once more. Flexing through that right foot. You can choose to have your foot up onto a bolster. You can bring your foot up to a wall or on the couch. Maybe we interlace the hands to the back of that left thigh. We'll flex through both feet. Nice and active here in the body. We'll take 3 more full deep breaths here. From here, we're coming into Supta Gomukhasana. So we're going to crisscross the knees. You're stacking your knees tightly. Lift your head up for a moment. It makes it a little bit easier to hold on to the shins. I'm staying flexed in both feet, and I'm going to hold anywhere to my shins or ankles. Now I'm not letting my feet drop down, I'm keeping my feet lifted as I gently draw my toes towards the opposite ear. Toes towards opposite ear. We're crisscrossing those legs tightly, and then resting the head back down. And if it feels really challenging to have the head resting down, then you might need to bring something underneath your head to support. If this is too intense, please go back to your figure 4. Two more full deep breaths here in Supta Gomukhasana, a supine cow's head pose. And then from here, we're going to release that bottom foot down towards the ground. Once again, lift yourself up. I'm going to hold on to my foot with my hand and then bring my other hand to my knee. So right hand to right knee and then left hand to the foot. And I'm starting to open that out to the side. So I'm really trying to get that figure 4 kind of shape here. You can choose to stay here. Maybe you lift up a little bit higher. I'm focusing on not curving my ankle. This would be sickling the ankle, but rather keeping this foot nice and flexed. And I imagine like I've got a big ski boot or snowshoe or snowboard boot on my ankle. Maybe starting to come up towards that arm, and then maybe starting to lengthen that left leg so it's up off of the ground. So we are in a supine pigeon pose, and perhaps a little bit telling of where we might be going. You can choose to support your head with your hand if you need. You can even rest your head down onto the ground. But really focusing on keeping this shin nice and right ankle, not dropping your foot down. One more full deep breath here, everybody. You can always choose to just step that foot back down on the ground, and then we'll release. Bring those feet nice and wide, and gently rocking side to side. One more rock each direction. And then you can bring your prop over to the other side if you use that for the supported twist. We're going to straighten that right leg out along the mat and then step that left foot onto the right thigh. Open that left arm out to the side, and then as you exhale, twisting over to the right. Using your prop to support the leg as you need. Maybe gazing over towards that left hand. Remember, you can just come into a fetal position if that feels better for you on your right side with both legs bent. You can also just twist with both knees bent if you need to step it down a notch. One more, nice full deep breath here. And then coming back through center, right into our figure 4, squaring off across the pelvis. And then here we are in that shape that we just did, right, where we were holding that leg in that supine pigeon pose. So this is a very modified version of that. You can always choose to take this version as we come into our deeper layers of pigeon. Option to stay here or interlace your hands to the back of that right thigh. Stay flexed in both feet. Remember, you can always bring your foot to the wall or some other support. Two more full deep breaths. On this second exhale, we're going to move into our Supta Gomukhasana. So I twist tie those knees tightly, stacking the knees. I like to lift up the head for a moment because I find it's easier to hold onto the shins. Now keep those feet lifted. Stay flexed in both feet. It's like we're trying to bring our shins flat so that they're parallel to the ceiling. I'm gently drawing my toes towards my ears. Knees are crisscrossed. Remember, if this is too much, please go back to your figure 4. Supta Gomukhasana. Big, big stretch in that outer left hip and glute is most likely where you're feeling this. So we're working through things that might be uncomfortable, things that might be intense. So intensity in big muscle groups. Okay, we're going to breathe through that. Any pain or discomfort happening in the joints, those are things that we want to watch out for. You're not looking to feel things in the joints here, but rather a intensity in the big muscle groups. But ultimately, only you can tell what that edge is of what is working and what's gone a little too far. Okay, let's bring that right foot down to the ground. I'm bringing right hand to my right foot, right hand to my left foot, and then left hand to that left knee. As I gently open that knee towards the top of my mat, towards my toes. Stay flexed in that foot. Maybe lift yourself up, maybe lifting that right leg, flexing through both feet. You might stay here, or you might need to come up even higher, bringing that arm towards, bringing that elbow towards the foot. Nice. Check in with yourself for what is the best version for you today on this side. Keep that foot lifted, don't let it drop down. Good. And then let's release. You can either roll over to one side. If you need to bring some more movement in here, you can do that. Maybe holding behind those knees and rock on up to seat. If that felt good, you can rock up and down up the length of your spine a little bit. Let's uncross those legs, and then we'll bring ourselves into your choice of a child's pose, choice 1. So if you don't know where child's pose is, right, just resting down here. Choice 2, puppy dog pose, stacking those hips over top of the knees, not arching the back, but staying long in the spine. My head is off of the ground. My hands are shoulder distance. I'm spreading my fingertips wide. And then choice 3, coming up into your full downward facing dog. So just working a parallel action of the legs a little bit as we get into that full stretch of the backs of the legs. And you know, it's still morning for me here. I haven't done much movement for myself personally, so I'm going to keep a nice little bend into my knees so I can really focus on lengthening my spine. Lifting the hips up and back, so I'm really reaching my tailbone to where the ceiling meets the back wall behind me. Looking back at those toes, we're making sure that the toes are reaching straight forward towards the fingertips and the heels are reaching straight back. 2 more full deep breaths here in your downward facing dog. Of course, listening to your body at any point if you need to rest. 1 more full deep breath here. And then we'll exhale to slowly float those knees back down. Good. So we're going to come into our tabletop now, and always focusing on stacking up the joints here. So I'm bringing my shoulders over top of my wrists, and I'm bringing my hips over top of my knees. Lifting the front of the throat so that the back of the neck is long. And just notice for yourself, are you collapsing between the shoulder blades? So broaden out between those shoulder blades. It's just a slight puff of that upper back towards the ceiling. I'm not trying to round my back, but just a slight puff and broadening here. And then as you do that, maybe that even naturally encourages you to draw the belly in. And just take a couple breaths here. And as we're engaged, you know, there's still softness. There's still that ease of breath. We're not trying to be rigid or stiff in this tabletop, but I'm strong and active. From here, I'm gonna send that right leg all the way back, pressing the ball of the foot down towards the ground. Notice if you start to collapse or let anything go in the upper body, stay active, strong in that belly. Start to slide those toes over towards the left, and then gazing over that left shoulder towards that right foot. Slowly coming back through center, and then from here I'm going to slide that right foot forward, so I'm bringing my foot to the outside of my hand and I'm tucking that knee in towards the shoulder. Now this might be a nice place to bring the hands up to blocks. I'm going to move forward here for a moment. Okay, so I'm tucking that knee in towards that outer arm, bringing the hands up to the blocks if you like. From here, I'm going to focus on externally rotating this front foot. So it opens out to a 45-degree angle with my knee. It's not just my foot moving, we don't want to do that, but I'm really feeling that hip, right? I'm moving, so the femur bone is the big bone in the thigh. It's our biggest bone in the body, our thickest bone in the body. So I'm moving that femur bone in my hip socket. As I do that, my knee opens and my toes open. So just getting that sense of that, of what is turning out or external rotation. Let's open out and hold it here. Option to stay right here, or maybe you start to roll to that outer right foot. Now, just like we did lying down, I'm trying not to curve into my ankle, so I'm staying nice and strong into that foot. You might imagine a cast on the foot or a big thick boot, so that we're not curving the ankle here. We call that sickling the foot. And I'm also making sure my knee's not going past my ankle, so I'm actually going to bring my foot forward a little bit more. Good. Your choice to stay right here. This is really great. If you want to go deeper, you can bring your right hand just to gently rest to that inner right knee. And then as you exhale, start to twist it open. Perfect. And then coming back through center. So you can choose just to, you probably need to take a rest. So take a little pause, but you can choose to repeat what we just did a second time, or we're gonna have the option now to move into our, what I like to call working pigeon. So this is not relaxing pigeon that we sometimes do at the end of class, and oftentimes what happens in pigeon is we tend to bring this bottom foot in towards that back hip. So I've completely lost that kind of right angle that I'm trying to get, and I'm not actually really feeling very much here. We just kind of get used to resting down, and you know, maybe the focus is more about resting down. It's not that we can't do versions like this, but rather we're going to work towards the steps of more so full pigeon. So I'm going to, coming back from where we were here, stepping that foot forward, so you can join me now here. I'm going to start to walk this foot over towards the left. And I do often like to prop myself up here with hands on blocks to begin. You're definitely going to want your props handy. Sorry, I should have told you that first. And I'm bringing this left leg far back behind me. Now from here, I'm going to where I need to be so that I can get that right angle of my front right leg. So just like we did lying down, remember you can go back and repeat that version. So if I were to just lower down onto the hips, and if I'm twisting here, I'm not in the pose. This isn't going to bring me any benefit. I'm not feeling the stretch where I want to feel it to the outer right hip. I'm very twisted here. I need to square off my hips, and so to do that, I need to lift myself up higher. So this is where you might need those multiple props, right? So if you've got block, if you've got bolster or different cushions, stack them up as much as you need to so that you can ground and square off that left hip down, keeping that right foot flexed, and the shin is parallel to the short edge of the mat. And then if you've got maybe a chair or a wall or something else to bring yourself upright, we're going to stay upright. We're not going to lie down. So as we start to work in towards full pigeon or working pigeon, maybe we get to the place, if we start to practice this, we might be lower down. Some of you might already be lower down. Some of you might even be all the way down. I really want to encourage you that if you are all the way down and using no prop, notice for yourself if there's any twisting happening in the hip, right? So if you have your imaginary belt on, you want that belt to be nice and straight this direction, just like you're standing, not tilted. So if your belt is tilted, you need some support. We're going to hold here for a little bit more. So these are the steps of how we work towards full pigeon. And one option of a deeper, more advanced version of pigeon is actually bending our back leg, reaching back, and holding on to our back foot. Now, we're not going to go there today, and maybe we never get there in our lives, but if we start to visualize in our mind about what our options are and where we could go, we're able to start doing these poses differently. 2 more full deep breaths here. I'm really feeling that. All right, and then we're slowly going to come out of that. So again, use whatever you need to prop yourself up. We're gonna bring this right foot up. Whew, we're free. And then just bring yourself into a tabletop, and you can rock the hips side to side. It might feel nice to do some circles with your knee. And the other way. You might choose to bring yourself up into a 3-legged dog and do any circling around here. So just see what feels right for you coming out of that. Good. All right, we need to do all that on the second side. So you know where we're going now here. We've got the props handy. We'll start by coming back into that tabletop, stacking up the joints, shoulders over the wrists, little puff between those shoulders, draw the belly in, lift the front of your throat. Hips are over those knees. Not rigid here, there's softness and breath in our engagement and activity. As you inhale, slide that left leg back, press the ball of the foot down towards the ground, and then sliding those left toes over to the right, looking over that right shoulder, see if you can maybe see your foot. Find the softness and breath here. One more full deep breath. And then we'll come back through center, and we'll step that left foot to the outside of the left hand. So I'm tucking that knee in towards my shoulder. Lengthen yourself up, prop yourself up onto your hands if you need. Remember, you can go back to any other version that feels good for you. So a figure 4 is great. You can do that lying down. You can do it seated, crossing one ankle over the knee. And then from here, I'm starting to get that external rotation, just moving in and out of that. So I feel that hip bone moving, or that leg bone moving in my hip socket, right? Maybe even bring your hand to the hip crease and feel that movement happening. I think that when we have a deeper understanding about the mechanics of our body and what happens, it might help maybe in going through our practice in a little bit of a different way. The next time you open out to that 45, pause here. The knee's not going past the ankle. I'm stacking that up. Your choice to stay right here, or your choice to roll to the pinky toe edge of that left foot without curving into the ankle. So staying nice and long. Lengthening your spine forward, lengthen the crown of your head forward. Option to stay right here. Make sure you're not dipping the head down or lifting your chin, but back of the neck is long. And option to bring left hand to that inner left knee. Exhale to twist to the left. Nice. Keep going through that, checking in, right? Sometimes as we hold things, weird things might start to happen. So I'm checking in with my feet, I'm checking with my core, how everything is lining up. And then we're coming back into our working pigeon. So I'm going to set myself up with my props. And it might be very different on this side. I'm going to start to toe heel that left foot over towards the right side of my mat. Have some props handy. And then I'm dropping that leg out. Right, so I can feel like, okay, it's a little bit different on this side. Maybe I don't need to go quite so supported. I personally like to keep my back toes curled under in pigeon because I find it's more comfortable for my kneecap. You can also support your knee. Classically, we would be with pointed toes. And you do want to make sure that leg is reaching straight back behind you. Sometimes it's opening out to the side, right? So straight back behind me. But really focusing today on keeping this front shin parallel to the short edge of my mat. Lifting yourself up. If you are feeling discomfort in your lower back, I'm going to recommend that you just come down just a little bit. Maybe just to the elbows on your blocks and see if that helps. Or walk your hands forward a little bit. Okay, if coming up doesn't feel good. Those of you on this side wanting to go a little bit deeper, option to reach one arm back. Maybe you take a breath or two without holding the hands. And perhaps in a later class, if you guys are liking this, if you want to work towards coming into a place that we're working elements of holding the back foot, even if you can't hold that foot, we can work towards that. In other poses, we can use different props to get elements of that. So if that's of interest to you, then let me know and maybe we'll have a part 2 working pigeon class at some point. Let's take 2 more full deep breaths here, everybody. Shoulders are soft. Good, and then I'm going to slowly come out of that. So I'm propping myself up. I'm going to step that left foot down onto the ground, moving all those props out of the way. And then your choice to come into your any movement, circling in your tabletop, maybe lifting up to that 3-legged dog. Let's see how that feels. And then you might choose to take a breath or two just in your full down dog. Checking out those toes once more. The toes are reaching straight forward, the heels are reaching straight back. And I've got space of a palm between the feet. You can bring your feet wider if you like. One more breath. Let's float those knees down. Good. So from here, we're going to bring ourselves into some internal rotation in just a little half supported Virasana as a counterbalance. So you might need a prop handy here. We're going to send that right leg forward, and then I'm tucking that left knee in. So I don't know if it's gonna, I think it comes up mirrored on live here. So I've got my right foot forward, left knee in. Now again, if the hips are tilting, we want to work to level out. Sometimes just lifting up the hips and lowering back down is all that you need. I'm bringing my knees together. I'm staying flexed in my front foot, and I've got my back left foot just to the outside of my left hip. If it doesn't work to level out, this is where you might need a prop or something underneath the right hip, just to bring a bit of balance here. At any point, if this doesn't feel good, please bring that leg forward. Listen to yourself. Those of you wanting to go deeper might lean back a little bit or a lot. I'm going to slowly come out of this, but you can hold for a couple more breaths. And then whenever you've had enough, you can bring those feet forward. Shake it. All right. So let's see what it's like on the other side. I'm going to bring that right leg back. And I'm really focusing on keeping the top of my foot flat down onto the ground. Noticing what's happening in the pelvis. I'm pretty tilted here, so I'm gonna lift my hips up and lower back down. Some people like to move that calf aside, stay flexed in the left foot. And hold. Just a half virasana or hero pose. One more breath here. And then I'm going to lean over towards that left side. Bring that leg out, shake it out. Do any movements that feel good. Okay, we're going to do one more thing here before we bring it down to our backs. I'm going to take that right foot, just like we did when we were lying down. So I'm taking one hand to the knee, the other hand to the foot, and I'm bringing this up. So you can choose to stay here. You can bring in some movement, circling that leg. We've done lots of different things for our hips today. Squaring them off, bringing some fluidity. Maybe you start to bring that foot to the wrist. Maybe you bring it into the crease of the elbow. And maybe just rocking that leg a little bit here. Feel the length in your spine. You might choose to stay just here. Maybe you need to step it down and come into a figure four. Or if you want to explore just a little bit, take your hands to your foot and then start to reach that foot either towards the shoulder. Actually, we can also start with a couple of rounds of that. Maybe you start to bring your foot towards your head. See what happens. You might surprise yourself, right? If you've got the space to get towards the back of the base of your neck, go for it. Listen to your body for what is doable. Otherwise, just holding here and kind of thinking of pulling that leg like a little violin bow playing. All right, and we're gonna let that go. Beautiful. So let's try the other side. So I'm going to hold on to my foot and bring some movements here. Maybe bringing that foot in towards that elbow. See what's possible here. So we've done many different variations of the same pose, essentially. Right? We've done this kneeling, we've done this lying down, we're doing it seated now. So sometimes if we are struggling in a pose in one plane of action, it can be useful to try it in a different variation. Try it standing, try it sideways, try it lying down. Your choice to stay here or bring that movement as we bring that foot towards the shoulder. Maybe bringing the foot towards the head. See what it's like on this side. Good. Or just holding your figure four for another breath or two. We've done lots of external rotation, a little bit of internal rotation to help balance. Now we're just going to come into some nice parallel movement as we bring ourselves into a supported inversion. So we're just going to come into a nice supported bridge pose. If you really want to take full bridge with just holding yourself up with your body weight, you're welcome to. But I'm gonna bring myself flat down, always lying flat down on the mat first, not on your prop and then lying down, because that can sometimes bring some not great feelings into the back. So once I'm down here, I'm going to use my bolster. The bolster's kind of high, so you might have to come up to the toes, lifting the heels, and we're going to bring that bolster underneath the hips. So I'm not going underneath the archy part of my back. Towards the base of the spine, we've got something called the sacrum, so it's a downward pointing bones here, right above the tailbone. So that is the sacrum. It's like top of the glutes. So this is where we want our block or our bolster. You can also use a rolled up blanket or towel. And I'm focusing just on nice parallel legs here now. Back of the neck is soft and long. Option to stay right here, or maybe it might feel nice to bring the legs up. And if you're near a wall, you might choose to bring yourself into legs up the wall here. So the same pose, you can choose to be on your prop or not. You can also just choose to have your hips flat down on the ground as you're bringing your backs of your legs up against the wall. And then whether you're here or legs up the wall, see if you feel comfortable here, or if you're just craving a little bit more external rotation, you can always come into a version of Baddha Konasana, or crossing the legs, maybe coming into a full lotus. Just checking in with your body for what feels good. Some people, while they're supported on the prop, enjoy bringing some length to the fronts of the legs. It can be a really deep opener for the psoas, for the hip flexors, but you want to make sure that that feels okay on your lower back. So ease into it with awareness. If you're comfortable where you are, of course, you're more than welcome to stay here. Otherwise, if there's any other pose that you feel you need to take before Shavasana, then you can do that now. If you feel chilly, grab yourself a blanket or a sweater. As we start to settle down to our resting pose for today. And then maybe coming back to the idea of mantra. What word or short phrase can you share with yourself right now? Thank you so deeply for joining me in this practice today. We're going to continue to hold here, adjusting, breathing. Keep repeating your mantra to yourself if you have one. You can do that quietly, or you might say it out loud. You might share it with someone later. Just as we can go through these shapes with our body and explore strength and flexibility and range of motion, we're also going through the process of our breath. We're also going through the process of working our minds. So it is all a practice that goes so much deeper than just the physical actions of our body, our asanas as we call them. What is our choice of words of self-talk? So I encourage you to maybe explore that a little bit more today. You're welcome to stay here for longer. If you feel like you're ready to come out of your Shavasana, please take as much time as you need to bring yourself up. Seated or resting pose you're in. I trust that you'll listen to your body and your instinct for what feels right for you. So thank you so deeply for joining me in practice today. The light in me is so grateful for the light in each of you. Thank you for joining me today.